And welcome into the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser from downtown Chicago. He's Robert Williamson, Florella, Alabama. Robert, good evening.
Good evening, Mike. How is it in Chicago?
It's good, man. The NJCAA football poll, the playoff poll came out today, and man, it is now set. We knew who the four teams were, Robert. It was just a matter of who was going to sit in the 2 slot, who was going to sit in the 3 slot.
Do you want to see those polls?
Let's
are
see.
you really interested in what happened? You know, who's 1 through 4, who's 1 through 15?
Been waiting to get to this moment since August.
All right, let's do it then. There you go.
Georgia Military moves up to the 2 slot. Hutch moves to 3. Robert, that's a huge difference just from a weather pattern standpoint. Think about it. If you're Hutch, you're playing that game in December. It's on a good day. If you catch the weather right, it's 30 degrees with the wind out of the north at 15. Now you go down to Milledgeville, Georgia. It's going to be 65 degrees and partly cloudy.
It is definitely going to be different. Hey, can I do a little bit of this? Did you notice that those 4 teams were all 1-loss teams? No 2-loss teams. Did you notice that every one of those 4 teams had at least a loss? I mean, did you happen to notice that?
You called it. You called it.
It does reinforce, it validates that blind chipmunk and an acorn theory. It does kind of validate that.
Yeah, but one thing, hey, listen, luck is the residue of hard work. So there you go. I'm going to pat you on the back even more.
Well,
all right.
I asked
for one and only time. The one and only time. Hey, you were right. No, you called it. I said a 2-loss team when the season started would get in. It didn't happen. Came close, but it didn't happen. They got it in. Your thoughts? You surprised that the committee moved Georgia Military to 2 after they were 3 last week?
I thought it was the right thing to do. Now, you might recall last week I said, let me kind of hold back on the vitriol until we get to this poll, because I knew there were some different dynamics where this poll was concerned as compared to the prior, 11 or so. So I think it was right. I think the pollsters got it right. And I will say, even if Georgia Military had not been the number 2 team, this is an imperfect science, but I think they have done and tried to do as well as they possibly can, come up with a method by which to rank these teams in a fair and orderly process. And that would have been whether Georgia Military was 2 or not, but I think they deserve that spot.
You know, the committee is never going to please all the people all the time. I thought they did an outstanding job. They really avoided the big locomotive a few weeks ago of multiple 2-loss teams. And who do you put in a Navarro or an East Central if there was a 2-loss team? But you'll see on my poll, if I was a voter, I would have slotted Hutch at number 2. And matter of fact, there they are. And again, no disrespect to Georgia Military, none to Rob Manchester. I just think Hutch, for me, based on the eye test and strength of schedule, I think they get my vote as the number 2 team, Georgia Military 3, Northwest 4. Note this, Robert, on Northwest, how big was that Hail Mary against Holmes? How does that stand now? Northwest wins that game on a Hail Mary 50-yard touchdown pass. Remember, they lost their first game out of the year on the year to an unranked Pearl River team who was never ranked in the top 20 or the top 15 in the NJCAA or the JUCO Rush poll. Robert, that turned out to be a huge play that propelled Northwest into the postseason.
Behind every successful team and season, there is a little bit of good luck. There was a lot of bit of good luck against Holmes on that particular night. And yeah, that Hail Mary turns into a Northwest win. Heck, they're not a number 4 team. They're not in if that Hail Mary is not complete. It was, and they are.
And you're right. And they get in there. So the 4 teams are set. I would put a Hutch number 2. You've got them at number 3. The committee voted as a group that Hutch is the number 3 team, and they'll have to go on the road to take on Rob Manchester and the Bulldogs And that game is an afternoon. It's a matinee affair on December the 8th. Iowa Western on December 7th will entertain Northwest. And man, again, Council Bluffs in December, going to be cold. But look, East Mississippi went in there last year and beat Hutchinson in a cold weather game. So I think I don't think that's going to affect Benji. And look, they've got a beast back there in the running game. I mean, a Demarion Petit, this guy is just tough as nails. So I don't think the weather plays a factor. I mean, of course, if there's a snowstorm or some sort, but the temperature is not going to stop Northwest. This is a tough football team. And it's Scott Strohmeyer will tell you, Iowa Western has their work cut out for him in this matchup. And interesting, you look at Iowa Western at number 1, they're at home. They play the toughest schedule in the league, in my opinion, and their reward is the champ out of Mississippi, Northwest.
Yeah, and my top 6 almost identical to yours, with the exception, as you mentioned, Georgia Military. I've got 2, Hutch 3. This is starting to concern me a little bit, though, over the course of time now, 10 or 11 weeks of this show. Are you and I starting to think alike? That scares me a little bit, and it should scare the heck out of you.
Yeah, I know. Stunning that we agree on something, but you look at we don't agree on the 2 and 3 slot, but most other things we do. And you watch this long enough, a lot of things just happen to fall into place. I'll tell you what fell into place is my players of the week. How about the SWJCFC, the conference championship game? Congratulations to Navarro. They win that football game 31-28. What a game. 14-13 at the half. Then Navarro opens up a lead. Tanner Jacobson and the Apaches run a fake punt that goes for a touchdown. They're right back in it. It finishes 31-28. And Navarro, their 6th SWJCFC conference championship as they get it done. And my first, I'm staying with 2 guys from Navarro. First, I'm going with my man Clay, the running back, 23 carries, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Also caught a couple of passes. He was instrumental in the Bulldogs' victory over the Apaches. And then I'm going with Tim Burns, 10 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown. He was the go-to guy for quarterback Mason Shorb. He sat down with the JUCO rush. And now joining us, Tim Burns, wide receiver for the Navarro Bulldogs, SWJCFC champs. Tim, I know that's got to sound good.
That sounds amazing.
This is the 6th title for Navarro in the 29-year history since going to this conference title and playing football and getting it done. That game was close, 31-28, but 14-13 at the break. Then you extend the lead. Then Tyler runs that fake punt. Man, a lot of drama. What was racing through the mind of you and the players on the sidelines when all of a sudden it became a real tight game fourth quarter?
We had a level head. Like, we understood that we came out slow and made the game harder than what it was. So going into halftime, we just came together as one and just spoke. Like we just kept everybody's head up, let everybody know, like, we still good. We still in this fight. The ball game's not over. We got 30 more minutes of football to play. Like, anything can happen at this point. We just gotta go back out there coming out to halftime and ball out.
Tim, you had a different quarterback at the start of the year, and then Mason Shorb comes in during, I think it was the blend game. Obviously, you and he clicked, but from your perspective, did it really matter who was at the helm?
Honestly, it did. I told both quarterbacks coming into the season, if y'all need help, I'm here to help. Whatever I can do, just make sure, give me the ball. I'm gonna help change this game, no matter how I need to do it.
You are from Miami, Florida. You're playing football in Corsicana. There's a little difference between Miami, Florida, and Corsicana, Texas. So how did you adjust to the different culture, and how has it affected you as a football player?
As far as adjusting to the culture, I just surrounded myself around people who either was from Texas or was from here, and they helped me, get along with it and see the different things to do out here, rather than me being from Miami. Well, there's a lot of things to do. And as far as adjusting, I did great with it, honestly.
Tim, as we talk with Tim Burns here on the JUCO Rush, Tim, Your strength as a wide receiver, what's your best asset? Hand, speed, what is it?
I say speed. Speed kills. Get in and out of your breaks, in and out of your routes. Speed kills.
Who recruited you to Navarro?
Coach J.
And how did that process lead to you signing with the Bulldogs?
It was a long process, honestly, and they just stuck with it. They stuck with me, and I thank them so much for that. And they brought me in, and it's crazy because last year they brought me in as a DB, and I transitioned this year as a receiver. And Coach Patrick Hall, he developed me and helped me become what I am today.
The SWJCFC is well respected. How tough was it playing in that league? How did JUCO football mature you as a football player?
The conference itself was definitely tough. That's what I can say. Like, each game was not an easy game. Like, it wasn't I'm gonna come in and make sure we're gonna come in and just handle this team. Like, each game was definitely a fight, and it was just the best team that won.
You look at the future for you. You guys are going to probably go to a bowl game.
Yes, sir.
Just your thoughts on that.
That's a blessing for all of us. That's more game, more things, more film, more team, more time to play with each other. Man, Coach Patrick makes practice hard for us. So no matter if it's a bowl game, a conference championship, a regular game, like each and every week was practice. Make sure we come to practice. We start practice, the receiver corps start practice 30 minutes earlier. And we started 30 minutes earlier just to make sure we warmed up, we ready to go, everybody awaken, and we just, all as one as a unit.
You went up against Will Cornelson and Darian White last week.
Yes, sir.
In that secondary. What was that experience like playing against those two talented guys?
They're very talented. That's what I can't give them. Those are some very talented guys. But us as a receiver corps, we just knew, like, coming into the game, no matter what, nobody can play with us. Honestly, that was our mindset throughout the whole year. We never seen a defense that could cover all of our guys, and we just knew, like, coming into this game, somebody, no matter who it was going to be able to have the opportunity and just shine.
What's next for you as we wrap up our conversation? After the bowl game, where are you headed next?
As of now, I won't display that now because I'm still weighing options. But I definitely have something to say soon.
Tim, it was great watching you play this year. Congratulations on the title. Stay healthy in the bowl game.
Yes, sir.
And we wish you nothing but the best, young man.
Thank you.
Want your team or business to truly stand out? Look no further than SportFX Designs. They specialize in high-impact sports graphics that demand attention. Whether it's custom animated logos, sleek animations, or full branding solutions, SportFX Designs delivers professional, eye-catching visuals that elevate your brand. Head over to www.sportfxdesigns.com and see how they can bring your visions to life.
And here's to Clay. Here's to Tim. Players of the week here on the JUCO Rush, powered by Pepsi. Pepsi, a proud partner of the JUCO Rush, also proud partners of junior college and community college athletics. They understand the importance of a community college education and the JUCO athletic experience. The folks down there in Gulfport, Mississippi, supporting JUCO athletics. And man, we're happy to have Pepsi on board as a partner. And those two guys, man, boy, what an effort! Boy, between Mason Shorb, Tim Burns, our guy Clay in the backfield, that offensive line, Navarro, champs. So Ryan Taylor and Navarro, Michael Landers, the AD down there, man, what an accomplishment, Robert.
Indeed, and a tip of the hat to the Southwest Junior College Football Conference champs in Navarro, who lost those games back-to-back to Cisco and Blinn and turned it around and they're the champions.
Their sixth conference championship. All right, let's take a look now at the JUCO Weekly Trophy. We'll have a press release, Robert, tomorrow. We've got a press release coming out announcing who the official 5 guys are. That vote will be taken later on this evening. And this list here is an unofficial list. This is just what some of the guys we like. And you see the usual suspects are up there. For mine and Robert, you've got your guys up there, and you got a couple of guys still up for grabs.
Yeah, up for grabs. And, typically in my up for grabs category, I've got the likes of Darian White and Will Cornelson. And then I throw in Mr. Giles from Holmes and maybe Trey Hall from Mississippi Gulf Coast. Definitely Keenan Phillips from Georgia Military College. But I leave my 3 mainstays there, Deckers, Petit, and Jordan. And really right now, I think I mentioned it last week as well. For me, the standout is Jordan. He has not had an off game yet. Petit had one. Deckers had one. Jordan has not had one. He has been solid and consistent all year long.
Yeah, KJCCC Offensive Player of the Year in the conference. You're right. A lot of those guys, Deckers, Hunter Deckers, the ICCAC or the ICAC Player of the Year in that conference. Petit, the Offensive Player of the Year in the North Division in Mississippi. Trey Hall for Gulf Coast, the Offensive Player in the South Division. So a lot to be decided here. All right, one thing that was decided today, yesterday, but released today, was the top 4 teams. The JUCO Rush sat down with the chair, and that is Jake Ripple, to talk about that process and how things went. And here's that interview. Jake Ripple joins us. He is the chair of the football committee, has been so since 2020. And today the NJCAA officially announced the 4 teams, and more importantly, in the order that it will happen. And Jake, first of all, that's a big one for Georgia Military, because they go from playing in best case scenario 33-degree weather with a wind out of the north at 20 to 65 and partly sunny, partner.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think the weather will be better there in Georgia, and Hutch has a lot of Georgia kids, so I don't think that they're going to be, obviously they don't ever want to travel, but I think that they'll be pretty excited that a lot of their kids get to play back close to home as well, and I don't think they're going to argue about the weather either.
Jake, if you could explain the process to folks that may not understand on how you guys determine the slots of this year's postseason.
So we have a poll committee that meets every week, and we spend a lot of time talking about, the teams that we see on a weekly basis and the teams that we deal with on a weekly basis. The poll committee is made up of 6 committee members from the NJCAA, as well as 6 coaches that are added to that. And those people, take a lot of time and energy to watch a lot of junior college games through the year. I think that people don't understand the amount of time that a lot of them put in. And I'm one that I watch probably 5 to 6 junior college games every week, between watching things live in our own conference, as well as spending my Thursday nights watching Mississippi games. And anytime I get a chance to watch some of the top teams in the nation that aren't close to me, I jump online and watch as much as I can. And I think everybody does. And so we vote every week, and, the playoff piece is just slotted through those votes of the final poll. So those top 4 are the top 4 teams in the poll, and that's how we go with the playoffs.
Jake, how are the members of this panel selected or determined?
So the NJCAA leadership, they have a leadership team that puts together chairs for every sport committee throughout the year, and then they also choose the other committee members. So that's 6. That makes up 6 of the people, and then we also add 6 coaches generally the coaches in each area kind of pick one of their own to serve on that committee and spend that time. Obviously, there are more choices in certain areas than there are others, and I know there's at least one conference that just kind of does a rotational basis with their coaches. So it's chosen a little bit different way, but in the end, each committee member is responsible for making sure that there's a responsible coach and from their area to serve on that voting committee.
Take me into one of the sessions in which you decide the various spots, because it does seem like there is probably a fine line between lobbying for a team and discussing the merits of a team.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I as the chair, I have to sit and look at that sometimes. And I think you get caught up in, you know, you still have some pride of the teams of your region. And I don't care who it is on the committee, you still have some pride of their teams on their region. And, you know, there's even a couple of coaches that are involved in this, that are on this committee. And, so, you know, they may be talking about their own team. And so there is a fine line between, you know, representing your region and lobbying for a team in your region. But I think for the most part, our committee's pretty professional about it. And they understand that in the end, we're there for the good of junior college football rather than any particular team.
Jake, is there any discussion amongst the committee about what the toughest conference was that particular season? And does it factor in to maybe some of the slotting of positions or a playoff spot?
I don't know if we necessarily talk about who is the toughest conference, but we talk about strength of schedule a lot. We talk about different teams and the strength of schedule and you know, with Kansas and Iowa kind of joining forces, that's a bigger sample size. Like Mississippi's a bigger sample size, you know, and then the Texas, you know, the Texas League. And I hear you guys talk about this all the time. Is it advantageous for those teams to play twice, you know, with the playoff system? And you know, we talk about all of those things, but we talk more about strength of schedule than we do the actual conferences per se.
You know, and when you lose seems to matter, because some people, you'll see it on social media. You'll see, well, how is Iowa Western number one when Hutchinson beat them? What do you say to those people?
You know, I think that really we looked a little bit about how teams were playing down the stretch. And obviously Iowa Western and Georgia Military played very well down the stretch. And I think Iowa Western gets a little bit of credit for what they've done in the playoffs the last couple of years. You know, they've proven it that they've played well at the end of the year, and they've kind of rolled through the playoffs and done a lot of good things with 2 national championships in a row. So, you know, they naturally get a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
Lastly, Jake, how much of a wrestling match was it today or yesterday when the committee met to move Georgia Military to number 2 and slot Hutch 3?
It was not an easy discussion. And I, you know, no matter what you did, somebody was not going to be happy about having to go on the road. I can promise you that there are some people at Northwest Mississippi, they're not happy about having to go on the road. But you got 4 one-loss teams, and in the end, when you look at them, you're really splitting hairs to get down between them. And so, you know, it was not an easy decision, and I can't say that it was a unanimous decision either within the committee. But in the end, that's the way it came out, and you know, so in the end, we're doing this for the good of junior college football, and we move forward and hope that we've put together the best playoffs that we can.
Look, I thought that we thank Jake Ripple for jumping on. He is the president he is the chair, has been since 2020. Obviously, that's a tough job. You're not going to make everybody happy. It's impossible. The one thing I was happy for the committee, Robert, is that there was 1 loss teams in there. because with those 2 lost teams, somebody was going to, it's all like musical chairs. When the music stops, where you at? And I'm glad that the committee didn't have to go through that this year. And it was pretty clean cut, just basically between Hutchinson and Georgia Military of who would get the home game.
Yeah, I agree. I think we knew who the 4 would be. Question again was who would play at home, who would play on the road. And that was determined yesterday and released today. So now we know Iowa Western, Georgia Military at home, Hutch, Northwest Mississippi on the road.
Well, and you see the thought process, you see the debate, the discussions, and even prior to the interview, Jake talking about he watches a lot of games. He watches 5-6 games a week. So do many of the other committee members. So these guys are well-versed. They're very familiar with these teams. So when they go and give their vote on a weekly basis, or in this case, the money vote here in November, they're doing it with knowledge, with depth, and understanding of what these teams, have done. They understand strength of schedule. They understand the eye test, among other things. I thought that was interesting.
I agree. And I think they all take their job very seriously. So in doing so, they came out with the best possible alignment of 15 teams in your top 4. And in this particular case, I agree with them.
And look, I'm going to tell you right now, Northwest, Benji Parker, they got no problem going over to Iowa Western to play football. That's a tough team. That's a good football team. You win 10 straight in Mississippi, you're a rock star. All right. And look, that game they lost to Pearl River, their kicker missed a field goal at the end. Okay. Then you look at Iowa Western. I've always said this. I think, Scott Strohmeyer will go anywhere to play anybody at any time, and he's backed that up year after year. Toughest schedule they play. You look at Kansas. I love what Kansas does, how they protect their teams. And what I mean by that is there is no conference playoff. You play the regular season, and whoever wins the conference wins it. In this case, Coffeyville, Butler, and Kansas have a share of the KJCC. So I like their system there. But Hutch, talented, tough, gritty, strong. Georgia Military, to go on the road at Snow and win on a Saturday night, among what else they did, taking Iowa Western, a one-point game, right? Overtime. These are the 4 teams that are deserving, and it's gonna be really. Look at you. Give me either one of these teams, and I say fine with me.
Going to be a great Final Four. It's all on ESPN Plus. The Iowa Western Northwest game is on a Friday. Georgia Military and Hutch will be playing on a Sunday, and I think that's to accommodate something else that is going on ESPN-wise on Saturday. So great football first weekend in December.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week, of course, on the JUCO Rush. Robert, we got bowl games. Those were announced. We'll discuss those and then break down. I tell you, we got something pretty cool planned next week with the 4 playoff teams here, among other things. So we're putting that together, and it's going to be pretty special. So you're going to want to check out the JUCO Rush, and we'll certainly put it on social media when we get all of that stuff lined up. Robert, good to see you, and congratulations. You called it. 4 1-loss teams. It was all you. I thought a 2-loss would get in there when the season started. You got me on this one. I owe you a steak dinner. And, I'm more than happy to show you around town up here and take you out to a nice steak dinner on that one.
So you're telling me I got to go to Chicago to get my steak dinner?
That's right.
Okay.
Have to come up here. Look, not bad. Look at this. Have you ever had a steak in Chicago, partner?
I have not.
Let me tell you, it's worth the trip, my man.
I'm coming.
All right. For Robert Williamson, I'm Mike Fraser. This has been the JUCO Rush. Thanks to our special guest, Tim Burns of Navarro, the wide receiver, and also the chair of the selection committee, Jake Ripple. We'll see you next week, everybody. So long.